somebody at your work asks you about a non-work related thing, that it could be a hot topic, of course you should say, I don't know. Just say, I don't know.
And as a man, you're going to run into this issue where masculinity is frowned upon, demonized, and you're not supposed to do it. You still need to go to work. You still need to interact with other people. You still need to build social connections. You still got to maintain your family. And all of these things are going to require you to maneuver the social situation we find ourselves in. So saying, I don't know, I believe it is masculine, because what you're doing is you're thinking on the next level. You're thinking ahead of them. I know you're going to have some strong opinion. The fact that you even wanted to bring this up to me tells me you've got a strong opinion on it, right? I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find out.
When the employer says, what is your preferred salary? Ridiculous question, because every human on the world would say, my preferred salary is $1 million a minute. Like, why would anybody have a number that's lower than infinity per second? Right?
Yeah, I don't want to make too much money. I gotta, let's see, I prefer to be a little broke. I want to struggle just the right amount. It's just like if you're dating a new girl, the best thing you can do is act like you don't care whether she comes or goes. You got to kind of be like, if you want to fit into my frame, then awesome. But if not, then see you later. And deep down, you're like, God, I hope she likes me. I really like her. She's so pretty and sweet. It'd be so nice if she'd hang out with me more. Like, that's what you're thinking, but you can't let that out.
I think being able to understand that even if you do know something, it's not your place to talk about it. That's like layer 2 of it, right?
Right.
And that's kind of where I get into, like, okay, this is somebody else's drama. I'm not even going to speak on it because it's not, I do know what's going on there, but I don't know it in a way to frame it how he would frame it. So I'm not going to talk about that. Yes. So that gets into the workplace conversation. It's like, and we'll segue into a little bit here. Like, what is the whole implications of the whole masculinity war, and like, how is it affecting the career aspect of things, right? And so it's like, in a job setting, right? This is perfect for in a job setting. If somebody at your work asks you about a non-work related thing, that it could be a hot topic, of course you should say, I don't know. Just say, I don't know. So let me give an example. Let's say you're a software developer, or you're let's say you're a writer or whatever, and you're in an office, and it's election season. The year is divisible by 4, so there's an election coming up, and everyone's talking about Orange Man bad, or Biden's falling asleep, whatever. It's a risk. It's too much of a risk in that case, in my opinion, to say anything about any of that stuff, because the person that's in charge of you can be, and by in charge I mean it's a fake. It's not real. It's really it's quite a. There's interesting that dials into it, but it's not really. He's not really in charge of you, but the person who's pretending to be in charge of you and that paying you, signing the checks.
Yeah.
Maybe they have an opinion of, hey, I'm part of the Democrat camp, so if you say something that's pro-Trump, I'm going to put that in my brain filing cabinet that you're kind of one of those Trumpers. So I'm going to, next time performance reviews come up, I might take that into the equation subconsciously. So to avoid that, what I would always do if somebody brings up politics in the casual, let's say you're in line to get coffee at the office and you're just talking, somebody in front of you says, can you believe what Trump said the other day? Can you believe that? And he looks at you for a response. 2 things you can do. One is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what his thought process was on that, but what's going on there? Kick it back over to them and let them talk and just nod, right? That's one way. A little bit not masculine, but it's something, right? Number 2 is just say, oh, I didn't hear it. I don't know. I'm not sure. And then walk away. Yep. Never do 3, which is, oh my goodness, what is wrong with you? Trump is this, that, and the other. He's actually right or wrong. Don't ever give that opinion. You're at work. You know what I'm saying? So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think that's great. So because this is like the practical advice of like sort of stuff you can take away from this question. So quickly summarizing like how we got here, you have the idea of might makes right. So the people who are in charge are going to have certain privileges that you don't have, the rights, if you will. They'll have rights. And now, twofold thing there. Number 1 is that people who do not have maybe noble interests or intentions will use their might to manipulate you and to steer the world in a certain direction. That's also true. Now, you as just a guy, right? You're just a guy. You're interacting with the world, and you're going to be subject to those pressures. You're going to be pushed on. And as a man in particular, you're going to run into this issue where masculinity is frowned upon, demonized, and you're not supposed to do it. So, that being said, you still need to go to work. You still need to interact with other people. You still need to build social connections. You still got to maintain your family. And all of these things are going to require you to maneuver, if you will, navigate the social situation we find ourselves in. So what you just gave, I think, is a perfect example of something that's going to happen to you all the time. And work is a perfect example, because work is the HR culture. It is the place where, basically every approved opinion of society, the way people are supposed to be, is enforced by threat of you're going to be fired or maybe even face a lawsuit if you don't follow along, right? So this is like ground zero. This is like the most important part of where everything's, in your dating life, you may not, let's say you succumb to all the pressures. Worst thing is you're just lonely, and that sucks, but that's it. You go your job, you give in to your urges to just say whatever's on your mind. Yeah, you might get fired. You're going to lose your livelihood, right? You're going to lose a lot if you go down that road. So you really need to know how to navigate it peacefully. And I think the number one thing is what Tony just sort of alluded to is sort of like, I would call it like the shadow realm, like the sort of the shadow dynamics of like, I am refusing to put myself out there first. I'm going to need this person to demonstrate to me where they stand. And that way I can go out and meet them at the right place, right? So it's like a negotiation. Okay, so if you go through a job interview and they talk about salary, best thing you can do is not throw out a number first, right? You may get forced to, but ideally you're not throwing out a number. They are, right? And that lets you know where they stand and how much you can reasonably push for, okay? The same thing is true in like a corporate office setting if a politics thing comes up. You don't want to just bust out your opinion. Oh, Trump this, Trump that, no matter how you feel, whether you like Trump or don't, you don't want to just come out and say it. You need them to do it first. So saying, I don't know, right, I believe it is masculine, because what you're doing is you're thinking on the next level. You're thinking ahead of them. Like, I know you're going to have some strong opinion. The fact that you even wanted to bring this up to me tells me you've got a strong opinion on it, right? I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find out. I'm not going to put my neck out there until I know where yours is, right? And all you got to do is, like Tony said, I don't know. What do you think? What happened? Tell me. They're going to spill their guts, right? Because most people are not thinking on this level. So they're just going to come right out. They can't wait. They can't wait to talk about it. Like, it's clearly on their mind. They want to get it out. So let them get it out. And then, let's say they give you the liberal talking points. They give you the CNN copy pasta. You know what to say. You need to say, wow, I can't believe that. That's crazy. And then you walk away, right? let's say they give you something a little more based, a little more red pilled. Hey, you can choose to engage with that if you want, but you just got to take it as it comes. But it starts off with that starting from a strong position. So think of it as a negotiation. Like the push and the pull. And like I said, I believe that is masculine. It's just a little more of like the shadow realm. Thinking about power dynamics.
Right. And I like that you brought up the negotiation tactic for salary, because that is the exact analogy where, when you enter a room for a salary negotiation, if they ask you, they're always going to ask you this, in my mind, ridiculous question that it's almost like when a police officer does something ridiculous. Like, if they weren't a police officer and everybody was analyzing the situation and they said, excuse me, I'm going to have to disarm you before we have a conversation because for my safety. That's what a cop says, right? They say, I need to disarm you for my safety. It's a little bit of a ridiculous thing if they said that as another citizen. Imagine if a citizen walked up to you and said, hey, if you don't mind putting your weapon on your on your dash, I need to disarm you for my safety. No, thank you, sir. But going into the negotiation tactic, when the employer says, "What is your preferred salary?" and again, ridiculous question, because every human on the world would say, "My preferred salary is $1 million a minute." Like, why would anybody have a number that's lower than infinity per second? Right.
Yeah, I don't want to make too much money. I gotta let's see. I prefer to be a little broke. I want to struggle just the right amount.
It's like Peter Griffin. It's like, oh yes, my doctor. He said I was in too good of shape, too healthy. Yes, Lois. Yeah. You didn't go, did you, Peter? No, I did not. Right. So it's like negotiation tactic number 102, if you will, is so they say, what is your preferred salary? And you kick it over back to them and say, you always ask this question: what does the job pay? What is the job pay? What is the salary range of the job? So pressure flip it to them exactly in the political situation where you say, I don't really know. What's your thought on that? Don't say I don't know, but it's like you're kicking it back over to them. It's like how I kick over things to Dean, right? A lot of times I kick it over to him because I want to see where he wants to go with something so that I can match my conclusion to kind of in his kind of range, right? Because I can go off on tangents and go way out in left field, but if he wants to go kind of right field, center field, I'll follow him there. I just need to know kind of where he wants to go with it. That's why I'll say, hey, kick it over to you. How does this whole... So back to the salary thing. If they say, hey, what's your preferred salary? Don't just say, oh, my $20 an hour. Just say, hey, what does the job pay? I'm kind of curious, like, what are we going to do? And then that pressure flips it. And a lot of times they'll say, well, we have a budget and it kind of depends on experience and et cetera, but we go between X and Y, right? and say, okay, well, I made Y plus 4 at my last company, so if you guys can maybe match or compete with that, and they'll tell, the truth is they do, you can do that. So let's say, yeah, we can do Y plus X, we can do Y plus 6. Let's get confirmation from my supervisor and see if we can do Y plus 6 and go from there. Now you've got a situation where you've locked them into a number, right?
Yep.
And as you've seen in episode 10, you're vetting them, right? It's not the other way around. So
yes.
This is a constant theme because everything is everything. We're going to relay things back to certain episodes. Moving through life with that vet them strategy, do that for everything. Do that for politics. Do that for everything. So it's just kind of my answer on that. And I like the way you articulated the negotiation aspect and how you brought the salary aspect into it, because that's kind of a common question where people get that wrong a lot.
Yeah, I think it's all understanding the way these power dynamics play out, and your place in it. Like it or not, you're going to have to interact with these things. And in the job interview example, you don't have the power, but you need to pretend like you do, right? And sometimes that happens. It's just like if you're dating a new girl, the best thing you can do is act like you don't care whether she comes or goes, right? Like you got to kind of be like, hey, if you want to fit into my frame, then awesome. But if not, then see you later. And deep down, you're like, God, I hope she likes me. I really like her. She's so pretty and sweet. It'd be so nice if she'd hang out with me more. Like, that's what you're thinking, but you can't let that out.
Yeah.
It's just got to be like, hang out if you want.
She knows it, but she can't confirm it. That's how it has to be, right? Like, this is, I agree with Red Pill. Like, you want her to know it, but not confirm it 100%, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the Red Pill theory of that. Yeah, I agree with it.
You take the power artificially, and it leads to real power, right? It's almost like a fake it till you make it kind of thing. In the interview, you take the power artificially by saying, well, what's your range? What's your guys' budget for this position? Or what does the job typically pay? Something like that. That's you taking the power, because now they're going to be forced to either ignore your question, which is awkward, or just give you the truth, right? Which they may do. And,
the truth, meaning their version of the watered down, when they'll negotiate back and they'll say a lower than what they give you.
Yes, but don't give up the little power you do have is in withholding the truth that you don't have any power, right? You may be unemployed, you may be desperate, like I need this job, but if your only power in that scenario is by not letting them know that you have no power. You see what I'm saying? So
exactly. Yeah. Abundance mentality.
Yes, exactly. So apply that to dating too. Like I said, you may be very lonely. You may really like that girl, but that by admitting that, you're almost guaranteeing you're not going to get her, right? So that's the reality of the situation. You got to withhold it sometimes. So, what's up, guys? Thanks for checking out this clip from the Maneuver Life podcast. If you enjoyed it, consider liking and subscribing and leaving a comment, even if it's just because you want to tell us how dumb you think we are, but especially if you want to tell us how much you agree with what we were saying. We have weekly uploads every single Monday, long-form conversations just like this one. So consider checking it out one way or the other. Thank you so much for your attention. You have a good rest of your day.